That was our theme song from Upper Arlington's own Colin Gall with his song Podcast. This is Steve Shoney. I'm the city manager of the city of Upper Arlington, and I'm here today with my co-host.
I'm Darren Shulman. I'm the city attorney of Upper Arlington.
So our podcast today is, first up, we're going to have Steve Farmer, who is our chief of police, talking a little bit about safety in UA and some crime stats that we just got back for last year that I think are pretty impressive. Fortunately, not very exciting from a crime stat standpoint. So
they're not making TV shows out of
no, they're not making TV shows out of what we got going on here. And then really excited because we have Katie Smith, who is a basketball legend, on for the second half of the podcast. So I think we've got a great podcast going today. This is our third podcast, and we're really excited about how it's been going. So let me start off by welcoming Steve Farmer. Steve, how are you doing?
Doing well. How's it going today?
Very well. So
I'm doing pretty good. I'm between two Steves. This is a kind of a weird situation for me.
I don't know why that.
My
would be
Steve
weird.
quota is full.
You have the. This is your lucky day. It's just a lucky. It's just plain lucky. Chief, we got some great numbers last year in terms of our crime stats, and I know it's really, really boring to run through numbers on a podcast, but this is a podcast about municipal government, so there's only so much boring we can avoid. Why don't you give kind of a quick summary for folks in terms of what we're seeing in terms of crime in UA and in particular thefts?
When we were looking at our numbers over the last 4 years, they've gone down every year since 2018. And we are down to, we had 235 thefts in 2021, which is down quite a bit in the last several years, which, I can share some of that with you as well.
So what were the 2018 numbers then?
2018, wow, going to really make me look at my small print.
It's not just two Steves, it's two old Steves who can't see anything. So, yeah.
Yeah, thefts in 2018 were 366, and this year 235.
So great reduction in thefts. What do you see? The other thing we hear a lot about is kind of vehicle thefts. How are we doing in terms of vehicle thefts?
Well, I don't actually have the number of vehicle thefts, but I have thefts from vehicles, which is pretty common. Yeah, we were at 50 this year as opposed to 98 in 2018.
Yeah. And, I myself have been actually – in this past year was a victim. I don't think they actually took anything out of my car, but I was one of those people who was dumb enough to I remembered I came home from a trip out to Portland for work in October, and it was late, and I parked my car on the street and left the doors unlocked and came out in the morning.
Steve.
And it was so
you're better than that.
Is
Steve.
I know, trust me, my wife tells me I'm better than that all the time. Is that kind of how most of those thefts from cars happen, is people just simply forgetting to hit that button on the remote?
Absolutely. It's one, leaving it unlocked, but two, and that is leaving things out in view. And we encourage people whenever out in the community talking, just, put your stuff in your trunk, put it in somewhere where people can't see it, because everybody wants an easy target. And the harder you make the target, the least likely you are going to be a victim of theft.
As we look at things that are driving down our crime in UA, what do you see as being some of the factors that are driving that?
I kind of break it down to the three things. One of them, obviously, it's the way we respond to crime as a police department. The second one's by design, and that is how cities, individuals, and businesses design their property and how they take care of their property. And the other one is just community input and keeping eyes out for us, because we can only be in so many places. So if everybody is our eyes and ears, people use the right lighting, in their homes and businesses, and how they maintain their properties. And then with us, we use intelligence-led policing. So we look at different statistics on crime trends to see where they're happening, when they're happening, and we can use our resources best to address them, do the right thing in the right place at the right time.
Is this a good time to brag about that ranking that just came out?
Yeah, go ahead.
So do you know about this, Steve?
Oh, I heard about it just 2 days ago.
Do you want to spill, or do you want to
No, you
spill?
go for it. I'll let you.
So Upper Arlington was basically named the safest city in Ohio and number 14th in the entire country by this
MoneyGeek.com.
Well, you got it right in front of you. Say where it's from.
Well, it sounds less cool when you say it's from MoneyGeek.com or whatever.
Well, it's coming from you, so Money Geek
is
kind of
appropriate.
fits, right?
Since no one's paying for advertising on this, I think you can give the name.
Yeah, so Money Geek, what they did was they looked at the cost of crime and its impact, and so they did a per capita cost of crime, and we are 14th in the country and number 1 in Ohio. So that's really cool.
I'd say we must be doing something right.
I've had numerous people say it's because of the new hard-charging city attorney that up Arlington brought in. I couldn't even finish that with a straight face.
So I will use that to transition to something else where you two do interplay, and it relates to the stats. So when you look at our stats in terms of drug-related arrests and citations, those have gone up. You want to talk a little bit about why that happens, and then Darren, you want to talk about what happens once we get somebody into the system for a drug offense.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing we've focused on the last 3 years, and that is making sure we focus on not just maybe when we arrest someone, the highest offense that they do, but anything they do. So we started charging for drug paraphernalia, possession of drugs, even though we may arrest them for something more serious or a warrant, because we decided that those are the kind of things the city attorney and a prosecutor needs to know about. And so our numbers have gone up significantly in the last several years. They've steadily gone up, but that's not because necessarily there's an increase in drug abuse in the city, but we are holding people accountable. And by holding them accountable, they're more likely to seek out and have opportunities to get the help they need. And we can also address multiple crimes by addressing those crimes. So it's kind of been a philosophical change in our police department, but it also goes hand in glove with what the city attorney's been doing in trying to address these issues with our local court system, and also bigger initiatives to honestly try to help people get back on their feet. And Darren knows more about that.
Yeah, we're trying to go more for restorative justice as opposed to punitive. So it's really helpful when we have that drug paraphernalia charge on there, because now we know there's a drug problem. A lot of crimes are caused by, the underlying crimes caused by drugs, so the thefts are because they're trying to get money to pay for the drugs. So when we know there's a drug problem, we have now resources that we can use to help stop that situation at its root, as opposed to just keep charging and bringing them back. So we have a drug court, which is aimed at getting them the treatment and services they need. We also have diversion programs, which can help with that too. So we're basically trying to get the root causes of the crime, as opposed to just throwing people in jail and getting them long criminal records. So it's been a great partnership with the police department, because if we didn't come together on this, it would be very difficult to get a good result.
And part of the reason I wanted to bring this up is I think sometimes it's a difficult balancing act when you talk about drugs and justice, because we all know that if you force someone into the criminal justice system and just do it as a criminal justice process, it can lead to really bad outcomes, and not it as you said, would you say punitive justice rather than restorative justice?
Yeah.
And I think what I'm really proud of as a city, and I thank the two of you and your predecessor, Janine Hummer, for doing this, is really getting us more focused on, particularly for folks who have drug crimes, which is most of what we see in our system here in UA, making sure that we're looking at a restorative justice paradigm rather than a punitive justice paradigm. And I'm sorry to our podcast users for using the term paradigm.
That's a 25-cent word there, Steve.
Well, you did go to Harvard, so I figured you know what it meant.
We did a paradigm shift. But I think the key is also, this is not like get out of jail free programs. These are things people have to actually do to make themselves better. So it's not like, oh, it's just a drug case, we don't care. We're actually trying to make them go through hoops to help themselves.
Yeah. So Steve Farmer, Chief Farmer, thanks for coming on. I know that maybe 3 people tuned into this to listen to us talk to you, but my guess is for this one, most folks have tuned in to listen to us talk to the 3-time Olympian, 2-time, am I remembering this right? 2-time WNBA champion, Katie Smith. So I think we're going to go ahead and transition. Thanks, Steve, for coming on. I'm sure we'll have you come back on some other time, and let's get to it with Katie.
We're gonna have a podcast, yeah.
Today, I got to tell you, Darren and I have been kind of geeking out on this interview for.
Is it professional for us to admit that we're geeking out before we interview somebody?
We're pretty geeky, so the fact to admitting that we're geeking out is
okay.
Not much of a stretch. We have with us today a 3-time gold medalist, 2-time WNBA champion, a Finals MVP, 7-time All-Star, member of the Naismith Hall of Fame. This is the first time I've ever had a chance to interview somebody with those magical 3 letters behind their name, HOF. Somebody who's lived in UA off and on since about 2003, I think. Has 2 kids, one in the 4th grade, one in the 10th. Is an assistant coach with the Minnesota Lynx, and most importantly, also an assistant coach with the UA High School girls basketball.
That should be the number 1 thing on the resume, ahead of all that other stuff.
Well, that's why
Top
I say,
line.
That's why I say for last, and that's actually how I ended up thinking about having you on here. Is I was looking through. I've got 2 boys who are in the program, and was looking through the program, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold up.
Is that the same one? Because your name is not like,
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't stand out.
Right, it could be other Smiths. But.
I mean, my dad is John Smith, and so yeah.
John Smith from Logan, Ohio.
There you go.
Which is the other piece that I left out. So one of the questions that I asked you in prep for this was, what's your favorite kind of music? And you said R&B and hip hop. So we start both of us are sports fans. So we start every podcast with a start bench cut. So
we have to introduce this. This is a weird one. Because it's teams.
Let's go ahead and introduce it.
Yeah.
So because you like hip hop music, we have kind of hip hop teams.
Okay.
So,
all right.
And one of them is kind of related to the Super Bowl halftime show, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, it should be
so
good.
Here are your 3 choices.
Okay.
Wu-Tang Clan.
Okay.
Public Enemy. And then we've combined NWA, Dr. Dre, he's on his own, and Snoop Dogg. They're all kind of a family. So you have to start one, bench one, and cut one.
Probably going to cut Wu-Tang. That wasn't one of my fave. Probably bench Public Enemy and then start the rest of the crew.
That's exactly how I had it ranked.
I think she can stay on the pod.
Yeah, you're allowed.
I'm allowed. No, I
yeah.
passed. I
do feel like I'm officially old because every year when the Super Bowl halftime show comes out, I'm like, I don't want to listen to that. And this year I'm like, I'm really excited, which means we're old.
Well, we are old, and one of the jokes we've had is that we've joked about we don't have any sponsors. I mean, we're not going to, not that we could ever get sponsors, but given the demographic that when we look at who's advertising on our radio stations we listen to, it's generally like rehab facilities, men's health, and hair treatment stuff. So anyway, speaking of being old, and you're a fan of
potentially a bad transition. We'll see how you go with that.
I know. I was wondering.
Speaking of being old, let's talk about yourself.
These grays,
speaking of being old,
no.
Speaking of being old and wanting to talk about music and people who are around people who are younger, I was going to get there.
Good.
So you're spending a lot of time in locker rooms with people in their teens and their 20s.
Yeah. 30s, yeah, all of it, the whole gamut.
So, what is out there in hip hop that you find tolerable at this point?
Tolerable is probably the best way, because the new stuff is just a little different. I like the 80s, 90s is still where I'd love to kind of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, the beat, I don't necessarily want to listen to all the words because some of it just goes, it's not always positive, and there's some things that I'm like, is this really on the radio? And I'm like, back in the day, just crank it up, right? You didn't care what it was. Now you're like, oh my gosh, they're talking about this and they're talking about that. So they and then they have the pop stuff, the top 40, which is a lot of fun too. I mean, obviously that stuff's a little bit more kind of everywhere, but yeah, the new stuff like R&B and hip hop and some of the rap is just a little. I think I'll go back to I'll stick with the 80s and 90s.
I have a rule with my kids. Is we had a no auto-tune rule, or at least a limited amount of.
Well, then you're not listening to music anymore.
I was
so
like, there can only be so much auto-tune on this, or I'm changing it. And there are a couple subject matters which I won't let you put on there either. But mostly it was like, okay, I can't handle the pure auto-tune all the time. If you can't sing, don't sing. just let's put it that way.
Yeah, so it's different, but it's fun because I do learn a little bit more. It was K-pop. I didn't really know much about that until the kids listened to it, and I was like, okay, what's this? And it's huge, BTS and the Stray kids, and I was like, this is a whole nother. But it's fun because you do you're like, well, let's know about it. Not that I'm going to listen to it, but it is fun to know like who these little genres and the things that are happening.
Yeah, it's crazy. Then that's the difference between like I've got boys, so it's like K-pop. They just don't care.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah. So it all depends. And it's phases, right?
Yeah.
Like it. Now it's not. It's like, and then into new. So it's fun, though. It's fun to always continue to learn stuff, whether you listen to it or not.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So do you mostly tune it out, or you kind of like listen to it?
I mean, if it's on, obviously in a car, I like sports radio mostly. Like I can rock out 1460, 97.1. If I'm traveling or driving, I put on the app and put on the ESPN station. So I personally like that. And then every once in a while, I'll put on YouTube Music because you can't find a station if you're, you know what I mean, if you're not in Columbus. But then the kids, sometimes we'll let them, everybody gets to pick. Can I play a song? Can I get a song? Yeah. So then I'm like, oh, this is all right. So I learn a little bit and I know songs. And then same with the high school kids, the UA basketball team, they have songs on the locker room every once in a while or songs in the gym. So, I'm like, oh, well, that's good. I can listen to that one. That's all. I'm always,
great.
yeah.
So, all right. So being from Southeast Ohio, how geeked up are you about Joe Burrow, or is it the fact that you're from Logan and it's Logan?
Logan Athens was rough back in the day. It was,
and my wife's from Athens,
oh,
so
you get that. Yeah,
I probably shouldn't have said that.
That's
this
okay.
early. Okay.
That's
Interview
all right.
over again.
They're not. They don't have his rivalry. The league is different, but Joe Burrow is. I don't personally know him. I never met him, but his father coached at OU. Yeah. So my dad's a Bobcat alum, so is my mom, and they know him. The father and stuff, and they have a relationship, and they follow Joe because, they've been down in Logan, still down in Logan, and watch games. Yeah. I obviously always heard about him. I'm always pumped for somebody from Southeastern Ohio, and it is fun when you know somebody, or especially my parents because they know more. You're like, you haven't invested or a little bit more interested in what they're doing. So, and he's phenomenal right now. Obviously going to LSU, and obviously got hurt, but he's just honestly just doing his thing, which is so much fun to watch.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So how'd you end up picking Ohio State as your
college?
Yeah.
Ohio State was always there. It came down, my final 4 official visits were Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio State, and Stanford. And it came down between Stanford and Ohio State. It was Stanford
has a nice program.
Yeah, Tara was there, still is there. The whole staff was basically Buckeyes. Julie Plank, Plank Cafe. She played at Ohio State. Her parents and everybody. She was an assistant coach there, and she's actually at Florida now. And then Amy Tucker, who was from Pickerington, I think, and played at Ohio State as well. Obviously, Tara has some Ohio ties. Coached here. So all that, I had a great visit. I was torn. But ultimately, I just felt like being an Ohio kid, staying at Ohio State, if I did kind of maybe what I thought I could do and work hard, keep my nose clean, that, maybe you have success. I didn't know what we'd do, whether we'd win a national championship or whether we'd have success, but I knew Stanford had, kind of been in that mix, and they were in the highlight of their kind of program. But I just felt like the connections that I would have here, being from Ohio, and hopefully doing what I thought I could do, that I just build relationships that would last way beyond basketball, and obviously be able to share it with people too. Because, back then, my mom and dad wouldn't have seen a lot of games. Dad was a dentist, mom's, taking care of my my brothers and my little brother, and then obviously went back to teaching after we all got out of the house. But they weren't going to be flying. Games weren't on TV as much. It would have been a little different life. It'd been like, where'd that girl from Logan, Ohio go?
Disappeared.
It was like, did she go? It would have been amazing. A lot of my buds are in Stanford, but honestly, just like the relationship piece, the being able to share it with people, kind of mattered, and I'm pretty happy about how it turned out.
When you're picking your colleges, were you thinking WNBA? It was kind of
no, not at all. It wasn't. So it didn't exist. Yeah. So overseas was happening. Obviously the Italian league and Spain and all these things, but it wasn't really on my wheel in my mind. It was, my thought process was go to college. USA basketball, so the Olympics was a goal, and then go to dental school. Like I was going to be a dentist like my dad, and that's kind of how.
Great teeth,
yeah, thanks. So he did a great job. I always, when he retired, I'm bummed. You just can't find. So I miss him. But so that's my thought process: go to school, pre-med, pre-dent. And then hopefully, be a part of the Olympic team, and then come back, finish up dental school, and be a dentist. And then just timing, you guys know. Some things you control, and majority of the things you don't. And, for me, right out of, college going into 96, the Olympic team of 96 really set off women's basketball. It was huge. They traveled around. They promoted women's basketball. They created 2 leagues, the ABL and the WNBA at that time. Investors came in. The NBA obviously backed the WNBA. And as soon as I, finished up in 96, my career, I bounced right over. There are 2 leagues to choose from. I chose the ABL. Initially, obviously it went bankrupt, and we all bounced over to the WNBA, and it's still going. Which
timing-wise, that's
lucky.
perfect, because if it starts 3 years later, you're
you're probably still getting in, because there's a ton of talented players who never got a chance to really showcase and for people to really see and have like the videos and you know what I mean, just to be covered in that history. So, yeah, I mean, as I said, just got really good timing for those that we kind of came through, and boom, college right to the pros. And then it kind of took me on its own little ride.
So for someone who's kind of seen WA from the beginning, how was the game change? And I don't mean like the marketing and stuff like that, but like the actual basketball.
I think you just have more versatile players. You have the power forwards who are shooting threes and handling the ball, and they're the time of a post player who can't shoot or create off the dribble doesn't exist. Small guards that can't shoot, that can only defend and penetrate. You can't have that anymore. You gotta have people who can score at all levels, who can do multiple things. So I just think they're just skilled in a lot of ways. And then just they're taller, they're faster, they're a little strong. You know what I mean? They're just bigger. Like I was big back in the day. I'm a big guard still, but not some of these guys. I'm like, dang, I thought I was. You're around them, but and they're just they take care of their bodies. The nutrition piece. They're all kind of invested in that. And the trainers. So there's a little bit of that. I just think the versatility and the skill level of just really honing in on that stuff when they're coming up the pipeline, because they grow up thinking, if they love it at that time, like, this is what I want to do. So they're already thinking about like it could be a career of theirs.
So we told you earlier we had Hoskett on the last pod, and it sounds a little bit to me like a parallel between kind of the evolution from when Bill was in the league, and 10 years later, it sounds like the WNBA is going through that same kind of. It went from being something that people did for a few years, unless you were here, to something that people really work toward, and it's that professionalization. Is that a fair parallel?
Yeah, I think it is. You don't. For us, it was. Obviously, blessed to be able to do it for so long and have it as a career, and it's led into my next career. But yeah, these guys are literally, when they're in high school and they're going up even prior to that, if they're a familiar or follower, if that's their thing, then they're thinking about it. And now with the NIL and there's a way to monetize the social media, being an influencer and having these followers. I mean, there's just this, these training videos, and you do cool stuff, you get all these views, and then people want to, give you things. So it's just it's changing now even more, like now how is this all going to affect us even at the pro level? Does it just make it better that these kids that are creating these followers and bring it to the next level to them, hopefully more of a fan base for us, which ultimately makes everybody happy because the business gets better. But it's a lot of fun to see. It's just but it also is just still basketball. And it's still thinking the game, and it's still putting in the work and doing the little things. And the great players, the great teams still do the same things that all the other great teams did, which is the basic things, which ultimately leads to wins, championships, money, contracts, all the fun things. So it's still the basics.
So so you're assistant coaching at the high school now. What do you see your pros doing that are the same things you see your kids doing that make you crazy?
It's so pass fakes, not that's just assuming that you can just throw the ball to anybody, just stare at and throw it and get deflections and turnovers. Reading the defense. It's just little things. Just reading how the defense plays you, remembering plays. It's all the same. I mean, there's the same mistakes. Like you show them one thing, the next person gets up, they don't do it. So basically everything they do, our pros do at a certain level. So, and everybody's got, their skill set and what they're good at. But no, it's the little things of just pass fakes, reading a defense, slowing down. Yeah, it's funny because it really is the same.
So
at all levels.
are you going to say I've got a sophomore point guard in high school who can do that better to your pro?
Nah, I probably won't because it might. You
They
gotta.
might not buy that.
Yeah. But no, but it's funny how it's all the same. And I tell people all the time, like, the same drills you do in high school for the most part, and the same drills you do in college to the pros. Yeah, you tweak some drills. You still do the same things, but it's just at a level and then the amount of talent that's around you. Every person is athletic. Every person can dribble. Every person can shoot, just so it makes the drill a little harder. But a lot of the things you do are the same fundamentals. You're just doing it at a different level against different, talent. So, it's not, as I said, the game's the game in a lot of ways. Yeah. And the basics are what really makes you good.
I want to ask you about your transition from player to coach. Mm-hmm. If you watch a lot of former players who are coaches, they're the sort of grinders or the middle tier. I mean, you were a mega successful, so is it harder to do that?
Not really. I think for me, what makes it easier is that I was able to play a long time, and I was able to kind of go out on my own terms. So I got everything out of playing, and there's not an ounce, I was like, whew, I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no more practices. Like, might have been able to play a couple, some games, but you're like, I don't want to be a one-on-one drill again or a rebounding drill. Like, the mental and the physical of like, oh, I don't want to be hit. So I think getting to that place, and I think going through your career of, being that person, that woman, the best, and then also understanding towards the end of your career, like you change your role in a sense, like you're not still like dropping 30, so you're just being able to adjust and kind of figure out where you're at. So then you realize it's just not about you all the time. Like it's really about what you can do for other people and like how much you need everybody, and it's just kind of at the end of the day trying to find a way to win. So I think getting it all out of my system and playing as long as I did, you understand the next thing. It's just not about you. Like it isn't. So you're just trying to help them be the best version of themselves. You're trying to, the good thing is you understand what they're going through. You can say, man, I understand. But I don't say I did it like this. I did it this way because they honestly they don't care. They don't. If it helps them, like, hey, try this to get open. Try this. This is a great move if you're trying to make an entry pass. If you're a shooter, sure, those things, but not like, hey, I did it this way. It's just more like I had my journey. Now it's my time to help somebody else figure out and hopefully have the best journey possible for them. Whatever it may be. I made my choices. I did my thing. Mine's over in that sense of playing, but now it's my job to try to figure out, all right, how do I help you get the most out of this? And it may be completely different of mine and whatever, but it's going to be yours. So I just want to be able to support them in that way.
So you were a pioneer in the establishment of the WNBA and really the establishment of probably, I think it is the most successful women's professional league in the United States. Mm-hmm. You're being that mentor to folks now. Who was there for you?
I mean, we all were there. There was players before us that did the overseas things. Like, even with the Quest ones in the ABL, Valerie Still, Andrea Lloyd, Texas, Kentucky, they played overseas. I mean, they spoke fluent Italian because they spent so much time. I mean, Val was like a TV star in Italy. I mean, if you ever met Val, she's
and those overseas leagues were like real.
Yeah, I mean, they made money, and they still make money, but they were part of the culture. So those guys, came back and shared and, just kind of helped you kind of be a pro in a sense, but they were just, honestly, we were just excited to do what we did. And there was players, that the Olympians honestly were some of the vets, Jennifer Azzi, Dawn, Staley, and those guys. Like and USA Basketball kind of does it the best is that you have these vets who are there. You come in as the rookie or the youngsters, and you're just like, how do they do it? You know what I mean? You tuck your shirt in. This is represent the USA this way. This is how we go about business. It's not about you. It's about winning a gold medal. So you just like fall in line, and then the next thing you know, you're the vet who's then leading by example and sharing like, hey, this is what this is about, right? This isn't about you. It's about us winning a gold medal and our legacy in that way. So I think you had a little bit of that with the ABL and then the WNBA, but yeah, we were trying to figure it out. But I think we valued the opportunity and understanding that all the people before us who didn't have a chance to play in the W and the ABL, who created the college, who were driving buses to games, who were talking to ADs to make sure that women got a chance to play. So then finally, here we are going to college, get scholarships, and there's so many women that were behind the door. Phyllis Bailey, who was at Ohio State, who was the AD, associate AD. So I think that's where we kept it, is that, man, we got this opportunity because of this. Now it's our turn to make sure that we continue to grow this so that all the young ladies can have this league, whether they love basketball or not, that there's this opportunity if that's what they want to do. So I think that's kind of how we looked at it, is that bringing up the past that helped us to then maybe create something that's going to last.
Well, I think continuing to tell that story about the need to be mindful of those who didn't have the opportunities that we had.
Yeah, 100.
Is absolutely key.
Because we didn't get here by ourselves.
No.
It did not. My opportunities were not, yeah, good job, Katie. No, it had nothing to do with me. I mean, I was blessed and lucky and had amazing people and obviously loved to do what I did. But I am so thankful for those that, I'm even thankful for my youth coaches, my high school coaches. The time commitment, basically it's volunteering your time to give every day the commitment and to put the effort in. And I've had some really good coaches over the years. And I think, John Wonke does an amazing job with the ladies. But you also look back and because when you're a kid, you don't really realize. You're like, yeah, whatever. It's all about me, right? But when you get older, it's somebody committing to be your coach at the high school youth or whatever, and the commitment that is the thought process, and you're doing it, you're volunteering. I'm so thankful for the folks that were a part of my life, but then now when you look around, it's like, holy cow, man. You just don't know how good when you have good coaches who care, man, it's awesome.
So how did you end up being an assistant coach in high school?
How did it happen? So I
know it's a big get. I know it's a big get for you. I know it's a huge resume
I know
builder,
it is. I mean, it's
I know you've been building to this for years.
Well, my nieces play at Bexley, so yeah, they did a little bit, but that's just a little too far. That's a little too far to get across town when you're trying to, you know what I mean? Like it is when you're hustling and trying to get kids. It's just
I get it totally.
I mean, it's hard. So I have lived in UA since 2003. I've had a house here, and I don't know how many people don't know. I mean, I know some people in the neighborhood, my neighbors, but I leave quite a bit just because of the WNBA. I leave for 6 months a year, but. So Tamika went, a friend of mine, Salone Brooks, the Brooks family, knows one of my buddies, the AAU coach, and I participate in the summer basketball. And the changeover with the coaches had mentioned, I don't know, my name must have popped up that I live in the area. And then they just asked, can we just mention Katie's name to the board when they were looking for coaches? And they reached out to me and asked if that would be okay. And I was like, sure. I said, I don't necessarily think I could be the head coach because of my job and everything, but I feel free. I'd love to maybe be a part in whatever way. So I talked to, Theotto and Smith, the AD, and just said, hey, I'd be game to be a part of it. I said, I can't be the head coach just because of the commitment, but I said, whoever you guys hire, I said, if it's okay with them, because again, somebody coming and going, being there, not being there, or whatever, if it works, great. If it doesn't, but it's not, if somebody's in charge that doesn't need that, then I'm okay with that too. So once they hired John, and then John reached out to me, and I said, I'd love to be a part, just any which way. And, the youth clinics, John's, had youth clinics for the youth programs. He constant communication with, the junior high, emails, getting them to games. Like it's fun to see the excitement that he's building. And again, that pipeline of hopefully players. But yeah, that's kind of how I got involved. And John's been just so open and welcoming, the whole staff. He's got such a great group of assistants and JV, the freshmen, and just fun to be around. But I appreciate that he just kind of let me kind of tag along and work a little bit with them.
It's very humble of you. Any coach would be like, well, I could have a Hall of Fame WNBA coach on my staff, or I could not. I don't know. It's tough.
No, it's funny. We have some mutual friends in the neighborhood, but it's just fun. You know, it's fun throughout your life. You just kind of generally meet random people, and then you just enjoy kind of like, I'm glad I met you, and it's been fun. But the kids make it great. I mean, honestly, the kids they work so hard. They're so much fun to be around. Like, they are genuinely just a lot of fun. Because high school basketball's, I mean, I had a ball. My buddies, we have a 30-year reunion coming up from our Final Four appearance, and we're still like besties and keep up. And so I have fond memories, and I hope these guys, whether you win or lose, it's the memories that really kind of carry on.
You had the opportunity to play in Detroit. That's where I think you won your championships, right? And Bill Lambier was your coach in Detroit. What was it like being around Bill Lambier in Detroit? I just have to ask that question.
Yeah, it was a ball. That's my time of basketball. It was the Bad Boys. Yeah. Michael Jordan, like that whole crew.
Right. Lambier was the baddest of them all.
So like that's my wheelhouse. That's who you watch. And Rick Mahorn was our assistant. So we had another bad boy, and then Cheryl Reeve, who I coach under now, was also an assistant coach during that time, and she's the best in the business. So yeah, Bill. You think of him one way, right? What you see, and that's probably true. Like, what you see is what you get. The things that you don't know about Bill, probably people that don't know him, he's kind of a softie. So he cares about the people that are in his world. If he trusts you and you're part of his crew, probably coached you and you did your thing or worked under him, then he looks out very much so. He's but he's a little sensitive sometimes. But yeah, so he has those moments. But then he's also truly the guy that you see.
So is he one of those people who truly he never has to pay for a meal when he's out and about?
No, he does. He's a little. So Herb Williams was also the assistant coach when I was in New York, and Herb's just like, yeah, I'll buy. If we're all sitting, he's like, I got you guys, I'll pay. Yeah. So Bill, he's smart and has a lot of money. I mean, he's so freaking smart. Like, he is by far one of the smartest, kind of managing. Like, he's just, he gets it. But Herb would be like, yeah, I'll buy everybody. Yeah, just give me their check. He'd tell the waitress, like, give me the players' checks. But Bill started to get onto that, because initially he wasn't buying. He was a little stingier with his money, and Herb kind of broke him down a little bit when he kept saying, Herb, buy everybody. But yeah, so Bill is Bill. Like, he can be a jerk with the best of them and not want to take pictures when he's out. But honestly, he'll go to bat for those that kind of been in his world. So that's it, one side of him that people don't really see.
Outside of basketball, what do you love to do?
Honestly, I love to just hang. I love to hang out with my dog. I do like dog play dates or outside. I like being outside, just hanging out with the fam, and honestly, and watching sports. But just low key, putzing around the house. Hopefully going through stuff. I have, try to clean the basement. But I like if you leave me in the house and I actually have work to do, I'll do everything other than the work I need to do. Yeah. So that is truly that's a hard thing.
So so Hoskett talked about how he likes to garden, and I think I just heard you say you like to clean basements. So if I can get Hoskett to do my gardening and you come clean my basement.
I got to go through it. I'm like, do I throw it away? Do I keep it?
That's why I don't do it.
Oh my gosh.
No,
it's not worth it.
I can't do it.
It's too stressful.
Yeah, I know. It would take forever. So I do. I like to be outside, just hang out with my fam and friends and the dog. And yeah.
Do you ever play the basketball video games?
I'm not a video gamer. I'm not a gamer.
They have the WNBA
They do.
in it now.
They do. Now, the video games I do like are like Frogger, Pac-Man. I do not want to think. ABC, no, 2 pounds and this and this. Like, it's like you got to know like the codes. I'm not like a bunch of our players in mini and stuff. We have some serious gamers, and I appreciate it, but I just don't. It is not my stuff.
Well, I remember during the beginning of COVID, when basketball was shut down, they started doing like basketball. They would broadcast basketball players playing 2K.
I think they did NASCAR too. They were doing like a virtual league.
Yeah, I mean they love it, and it's.
Do they play as themselves?
That's what I don't know. AP,
I would
some
totally
of our
do
players, I don't know if they do play as themselves. I have to ask.
Like, I got to get 50 with myself.
I know.
If I ever make it in
you'll be like judging it, like, what? They didn't give me a shot? Like, I could shoot it?
I don't show my breakaway speed. That's what
I could dunk. Right. Be writing into the company.
So I don't think we asked this. How did you end up picking UA?
So when the ABL was ending, obviously, played overseas a little bit and just was ready to kind of find a place. Had a rental on, Bethel, and I was like, oh, it's time to kind of put my money into something and kind of have a home. My parents kind of led me a little bit of places that were already established, not like some of the communities that kind of keep growing and adding high schools and things, but something that was going to be the way it is, and people value it, and it'll always have value. So, looked around the city, but UA was the spot that really, and it was close to Ohio State, and it's convenient, to the city and everything, honestly. So it was a little bit more of that, of just the established feel that you know what you're going to get, and it's going to be that. It's not going to change. So that's kind of how I started here and ended up, finding a place here in UA. It was because of that. No matter what, no matter how many years, it's always going to be someplace that people take care of their stuff, and it's going to be a great community.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
We need to ask more about these Olympic medals, Steve.
I should have brought them. I didn't.
I know. I was like, where are they? First of all,
no, they're in a safety deposit box. I
That's
used to just keep them in the house, and in my Hall of Fame ring, and just some of the other stuff. But yeah, I keep them in a safety
you should
deposit
be wearing
box.
the ring and
I
the
know.
three
Well,
medals.
the ring is huge. It's not something you just. It looks like what you have on your hand. It's huge. I mean, it really is huge. It's gorgeous, but it's ginormous.
Is there one that meant the most to you, or was more interesting? I mean, you got three, so it's like, it's kind of like that now.
The first is the first. It's the whole process. The opening ceremonies is going through processing when you're getting all your gear, all the Team USA gear with all the other Olympic athletes. The whole procedure of going into the opening ceremonies. You're in a big stadium and you're
waiting forever, aren't
yeah,
you?
and you walk like a couple miles. Like you're that's why people don't go to opening ceremonies that compete the next day. We didn't stay in the village. We stayed outside in another place because of kind of I'm not saying USAB's entourage, but in a way, and you have guests, and sometimes you have kids, and then you're also competing the whole competition. So, not having too many disruptions. So we spent a night or two in 2004, but and then just the being able to go through, say you're the best in the world and standing on the podium. So yeah, the first one was special in that way, and then the last one was just fun because it was just a great team. I thought it was one of the better teams, and it was good. But the first one was definitely
This is the weirdest thing about UA. I would like to say you're the first person I've ever met with the gold medal, but you're the second person I met with the gold medal. But you've got three times.
But you've got three times as many.
Yeah, I know. But that is cool though. It is, that Bill.
I mean, there aren't a lot of them out there.
Yeah. There's not.
I mean, Ryan Miller likes to say he has three. So, but I have them all. He says, between us, he'll go, between us, we have 3 gold medals.
Oh.
No.
Very smart.
So, yeah, Ryan and I go way back. We were same class at Ohio State.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so football, him, Luke Fickle, Belisari, and myself, we're all pre-med. Did not last. I don't think any of us ended up that way.
So, actually, there was did you interact much with the men's team when you were?
Yeah.
So I went to high school with Alex Davis.
Oh, nice.
I grew up with Alex.
Yeah.
So I come from that same.
Very good. Yeah, the guys are awesome. Even the older, JJ and Mark Baker and the whole crew, but Derek Anderson, all that. Yeah. So yeah, good guys.
Yeah, they are.
All right, so I've geeked out about the Olympics. Now I've got to geek out with one more question about WNBA. Who was the best player you played with or against?
Or do we want to give her?
Oh, do you want to give it? You want to do that?
We've got another one.
Oh yeah, we got another.
We got another.
Let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay.
Forget that question. This is
start
better.
bench cut.
Oh,
So this is tough.
We tried to make it tough, but you could tell us if it's stupid.
Swoops.
Okay.
Bird. Sorry.
No. So, those two. Who give me one more?
Diana
Okay.
Taurasi. Sorry, I said it wrong.
He said Starry.
I
Right?
don't have my glasses on.
Is that tough?
Yeah. I'm gonna probably start.
See, we're trying to get you to say something really controversial so it goes viral. That's our
We want
entire
ratings. Yeah.
Well, it depends, right? Like DT's is more of a score. Birdie, I'm probably gonna start because I think PGs run the world. I really do. If you don't have a good PG, you're not winning anything. But I think I'm gonna start Birdie, bench DT, cut Swoops. And it
You
could
look
be a
pained
very,
doing that.
It's
by the way.
but the first two, it's either start DT and bench Birdie in their primes. I'm trying to think prime. So it's a toss. It's a tight one. So, but yeah, but bench Swoops is not Swoops. I'll say cut because the other two I think are just what they do.
It must have been a good list because she looked like
the
she was
pained look on.
I was like, you're just like going through your Rolodex, like, well, she could shoot, but DT now, but Birdie, yeah. So yeah, right. But DT is one of my fave, like to play with, to play against. She's one of my all-time favorites. So
I was doing my research. There's some YouTube videos out there where you two got a little testy
she's a little feisty, but DT, I love DT, but she won't mess with me. No, no, but we did. But that's the fun of it. That's why I like DT because DT she plays hard. She's fussy, whatever. She's more fussy now. She's gotten older. But just whacking people and things. But she just, you play hard and afterwards you're done. But it's like, but she loves what she does and plays hard. But yeah, in the heat of the moment, it's like, hey, I'm about to win this. You're not, and same with them. So, but it was there's some moments, I guess.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. That's look, I love basketball, and one of the things that I love about the ethic of basketball is that you go out there and you compete like that.
Yeah.
And you go at it, and it's about the game, and it's about respecting people, and it's about respecting their game. And if you can do that, yeah, we can be at it.
Uh-huh. Even for friends, and then it may take me a minute after to chat.
It does seem like basketball, though, is the sport where they compete like heck on the court, but they're like call each other.
Yeah,
friends.
like you go, you out to dinner. Sometimes it just may be like, not this time. But overall, you try to leave kind of on the floor. Some people are better than others, but yeah, it seems to be all right.
Football, they sometimes just don't seem to like each other very much. But then again, they're throwing each other on the ground and trying to hurt each other. So.
Okay. 2 last questions. Okay. We do this with everybody. These are much nicer than some of the other questions we got. What do you love about UA, and what would you change about UA?
I do love the community. I just, now having the kiddos here, just, being more immersed into UA and just kind of having a day-to-day schedule. The kids have been here for the last couple years, and so I think the community and just, watching everybody be involved with the high school has been a lot of fun. So I think the community is just really, they're invested. They love their city.
Yep. And what would you change?
Change. I wish it was a little bit more diverse. I do. I wish there was just a little more diversity here. But overall, I just think it's a great place to live with great schools, great everything. But that'd be really the only thing.
Yeah. And look, the diversity is something we're working hard on. We formed a community relations committee last year, and we're working hard. And we it took us 100 years to end up where we are. It's going to take us a little bit of time to improve on
100%. I get it. Yeah.
So hopefully not 100 years. But.
No, it won't take us 100 years. But it's going to take give us a couple minutes. Yeah.
But we did make it through 3 episodes without us being the thing to change.
That's true.
I'm going to note that every time until someone says it.
We're always worried
you two weren't like this.
Yeah.
Everything's great except for this show and you two knuckleheads.
The city manager and city attorney are the things that need to change. Yeah, that's. There's a couple people that will. There's a couple people I think we could invite on the podcast that would give us that answer, but I think we'll avoid them for a little while. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being in the community, giving to the community, working with the kids. This has been a lot of fun for us. I hope it's not been too painful for you.
No, it's a blast, and I enjoyed living here, and for me, just kind of continually learning more and more. As I said, I've been here all the time, but I do enjoy the day-to-day, and I hope it continues. So
thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.